For those of you who don't know, obviously I'm part of the Martec, and we specialise in helping organisations hire and retain critical talent through AI-powered content and advocacy. So super passionate about this, and we try and help companies stand out with authentic content and social proof that really resonates with talent, no matter their location, title, or identity. For me, it's about shifting the perceptions of what inclusivity is. Because when we talk about, from an organisation, about inclusivity, people always think about DE&I, ESG groups, etc. AI, and this is, for me, the power of it, AI enables inclusivity both an organisational perspective and from an employee perspective. So we worked, for those of you that are our clients or you know who you are, we work with global organisations. They have regions, for example, that don't have any budget or support for hiring because they have their own critical talent, but they're maybe not business critical. So AI allows them to, from an organisational perspective, allows them to actually be inclusive and be part of these talent strategies, but also allows employees who don't shout the loudest enough, not like Claire and Elle. Actually, we don't. But people that may not feel comfortable, let's say, putting their hand up to do something, or as we said, in front of video, or want to be written. So inclusivity is allowing anybody to have a voice or a narrative in their organisation, for organisations to allow everybody that has a requirement, a passion, or a need to attract talent to be part of the journey. So for me, AI really has shifted. It shifted the landscape of how organisations be inclusive and hire and globalisation, etc. So we've got some really good tips for you today on how you can harness the power of AI to reduce costs, save time, and attract critical talent. And we love a top tip. 7 is my lucky number. So bring us home with this one, Claire.
Oh, 2 is my lucky number. Anyway, I think balance actually is really important when it comes to AI, because I think if you use it, it can really be a tool that helps you. I think when it was starting to be used a bit more, it's going to take my job, it's going to replace things, and actually if you use it to its advantage, it can be brilliant. There can be pros and cons to it though. I think you can see a LinkedIn post that's been written with AI a mile off when it's just emoji heavy and every other word is an emoji, and that actually doesn't end up being accessible, but as someone who's reading it, where they've got descriptions on for all those emojis, and also it's just very heavy. But if you use it in balance, if you're writing something, you might want to type in something and go, does this help me with what I'm writing? Does it sense check something? I think it can be a great tool. I don't think it can replace everything, but I think if you work in tandem with it and have that balance, I think it can be your best friend and help you get things done. So I think it's brilliant.
I'm going to remind you one of these days that you just said AI can be your best friend. I'm being hearing. It's not replace me with AI. You did it. My day is over. I'm going back to bed after this. But no. in all honesty, it's a great point. I mean, AI should be used to reduce the time you spend on admin and basic tasks, so you can focus your energy on the bigger picture, right? On life, on strategy, the fun stuff. It doesn't replace your brain, but it can do actually, or it can prompt your brain, but it takes away you can use it to pump up your weaknesses, right? And isn't that what we as humans can use, like tools and processes and people that that balance out our weaknesses, but don't let it take away your strength or your strategy, your bit that you love. So use it, for example, if I think about our platform, to find the right advocates or create questions or transcribe videos, for example. And I'm one of the ways, as a tangible example of this, that the Martec platform does it, is for AI. And I always get really shy. It's not about spooking us. I just like me giving live examples. But using AI for writing job ads, basic task, one of the most important parts of the candidate journey. I'm surprised you're not chuckling more, Claire. And we'll speak a bit more about
holding it in.
We will speak about this a bit more later, but why do not companies just like diminish job ads to a basic task that's done really well? Like, why do they just not do that? It seems one of the most basic things you could outsource. So, it's so important. So shift the focus of what you want the candidate to do rather than the task of writing the ads. I was hired, very first job in Australia, I was hired to train over 500 recruiters on how to write job ads, agency recruiters. I kid you not. The time, the money, the effort that went in that. Imagine if they could just use AI. I had a platform that did it well for you. Actually, they're not my knowledge.
One of my jobs I had to write.
Sorry, Claire.
Sorry, we're doing it now. One of my jobs I had to write around, I think I calculated I had to write 300 or 400 ads. And one of the leaders at the time had a real liking for the word robust, and every single advert had to have the word robust in it. I hate the word now, but I remember, like, you had AI at the time and it could have just saved me probably my sanity, but also just not everyone's a writer. Not everyone knows how to take an advert and create something really compelling with it, because it's not their natural wheelhouse, and that's absolutely fine. But if you've got a tool that can do it for you, amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And it buys you time back. So, if you are looking, and remember the whole purpose of today is looking at critical talent, there are so many things you need to do to attract critical talent, like market mapping, building your EVP or your messaging, or, looking at comp parity, or thousands. I haven't had coffee yet. You know what's going on in my brain. They're all flying and I can't pick one out of my brain, but there's so many tasks you could be doing to attract critical talent. Writing a job ad is not one of them. It really isn't. So, it's the idea is like harnessing AI to give you time back to do the things that actually make material impact, and use AI to do the things that would take you far too long to do. As you just said, not your natural wheelhouse.
Yeah, I like that. And I use it as I like it as my sounding board sometimes. So if I'm trying to write something where I get a bit stuck, I will happily open, an AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or something else, and type whatever I'm writing into it. It spits out something that probably does not sound like me at all, but it makes me think. And I think that can be quite a fun bit from it. Actually, it allows that extra thinking time, or prompts your brain to go, oh, actually I need to go down that direction, I need to do something else, or oh, this has really, really helped me. And so I quite like using it as a sounding board, and also having a bit of fun with it. I've had a lot of fun generating various random images with it for various card competitions or things that I'm entering, and I really want to win for no other reason than personal pride. But I'm like, what can I use AI for? And the things that it can generate and mash all together, and it's really quite fun. And I'm not saying that it takes away from actual creativity, and I say that with a lot of sincerity, because in my spare time when I have that, I have my little art business, so actually I love actual creativity and doing things. But I think it can help people who aren't naturally creative come together with something. Again, I think it's that tool, it's that sounding board, and I think it can just be something that helps you in your day-to-day.
And talking of day-to-day, hands up if you don't have enough hours in the day.
That's 2 hands.
Yeah, I was going to say, Claire, the person who is always awake when I have my coffee in the morning, want a quick chat. So yeah, but one of the things I feel like everybody's saying is, I'm really busy, I don't have enough hours in the day. It's on my mantra, like not enough hours in the day. And I think everybody's feeling like that right now. So I think looking at a platform that can save, and I had this, and I don't know if I'm going to say Nick Thompson, I'm calling you out here. I had this conversation with Nick Thompson a while ago, and I love brainstorms with him, like with you, very different, but he's just as opinionated like you, which I love, because I'm not opinionated at all, of course.
I'm not opinionated, I'm meek and mild.
But we were talking about the fact that getting a tool or platform in place that saves you hundreds of hours does not diminish your value to an organization. I feel we're talking about the fact, I say we, Nick and I, and then you and I talking about that, people feel like if we say, oh, here's something that's going to save me hundreds of hours, that because we're all running around saying, I'm so busy, I haven't got enough time hours in the day that suddenly you're not as valuable to an organization. Well, I call BS on that. But I understand why people feel like that. I get it. We're all trying to prove value, right? But if you flip that and say, in fact, it increases your value to an organization, as you can use your brains in other ways to bring and drive even more value and outcomes. And as I said, focus on those critical talent segments and strategies and research and all the stuff we want to be doing. So, I mean, if we look at, for example, like if we're talking about saving hundreds of hours, let's look at how AI can save time for one recruiter to write a job. Oh, here's what I prepared earlier, to write a job out. So
just like that.
What was that, darling?
Is it just like that? It's like magic.
Just like that. Magic AI. But if we look at this, like for 3,000 job ads without AI, we've got 3,300 job ads. We got to 225 hours on our calculation if it takes 45 minutes to write one job ad. And I see, and we crowdsourced this, 45 minutes is pretty average for somebody to write a job ad, even if they're cut and pasting the bloody job description and then doing something different. 225 hours a year. I haven't got 225 hours a year. Whereas, imagine if you can use AI, 10 minutes to write the job ad, and it's taking you 50 hours, saving up to 150 hours per year per recruiter every year. Imagine you can go back to the organizations, the head of TA, and say, hey, look, I've just saved us a shit ton of hours, and that's only on 300 job ads. Most organizations have 3,000 or 30,000 a year. So for me, it's about saying, let's bring something else in that saves our people, our valuable people, time doing something else. I feel like I'm really stating the obvious here. Shall I get off my soapbox? This is where I need the breathe slide, Chelsea.
I think that there's a really good point in that I think if you think about, and this is especially true for, I think, most employer brands I talk to, you go into a new organisation, you've got your strategy, you want to go after these big projects and they're really shiny, and then you never get there because you're playing whack-a-mole, because something's going wrong over here or over there. And especially if you're a solo talent brander, it can be really hard to like get everything that you need to get done because you're constantly fixing all the problems or the leaves of the tree rather than being able to tackle the root. And I think if you look at all the metrics that you measure, you're looking at your time to hire, but actually if you flip it back on yourself, you have an idea, but what's your time to execute it? And if you're saving so many hours, like a year, and you're going, right, this tool or this thing over here is going to save me all this time so I can go and execute that project a lot quicker, then actually you're being much more valuable to your organization because you're showing how much more how better you are with your time efficiency. And I think that can be a really, really valuable thing. So when you're saving the time somewhere here, what else can you go and spend it on? And that can be your big projects.
Yeah, sounds like the voice of experience here. Let's look more specifically about how AI then can support talent brands. We've looked at it for a talent acquisition. If we're looking for talent brand, I mean, that's insane. Like brief 30 minutes, copywriter, 3 days for employee answering, 6 hours per blog times 100, 600 hours. I mean, that's just insane. And so, I mean, from our community, from yours and Alex's EB community, our clients and everybody we could talk to, they're like, we're lucky. They're saying like if they can create one blog a week, it's like, oh yeah, we've got a couple sitting here, and it's just so hard for people to do. Whereas AI can bring that down to an hour per blog, so 100 hours for 100 blogs. Sometimes when I'm doing a demo of the platform to people, and I literally can turn it around within, 8 minutes. I mean, it's not the best blog in the world in 8 minutes, but actually it's better than what they have. And that's the other thing, remembering, is that this isn't authentic content, is not about perfection. It's about insights, perspective, and multiple perspectives, being able to reach different people. As you said earlier, about allowing people who aren't writers to write, to be scalable, to be inclusive. If you think about your candidate and don't think about you as the corporate organization, they would much rather read 10 blogs or 10 perspectives of what it's like to work within your organization, or what innovation means in your organization, or what a day in the life looks like, or, going to be a bit of thought leadership. 10 people that's, an 80%, again, conversation I had with Nick Thompson, 80% insight and perfection, and 10% a little bit woolly around the edges because you've allowed AI to do it. But it's still their insights, it's still personal. Then one piece of content that sounds like it's been created from the organization, that actually doesn't give them perspective. So it's about the scalability, perspective, and insight. So, and how do you do that? And I'm thinking about, if you're saving time, again, if we're using our platform, you're looking at different workflows, you can send employee prompts, you can use platform languages, you can change the workflows, you can pivot in real time, and you can experiment, which is, I think, what you're saying as well. Have the freedom to experiment with, do we want to do languages? Actually, let's change that question and do everything in real time, which has not been possible or affordable for a lot of organizations to do to date.
And I think adding on to that inclusivity part, I think giving people a voice where they don't think they've had a voice. If you're an organization that's going after blog writers and you want to have written stuff for your careers website or whatever you're publishing it on, and people deselect themselves, so they go, I can't write. But they actually might have an incredible story. And the moment you open the door and you say, hey, I've got this tool, and you just need to input your little bits here and it will do it for you, and they can change it and add it and put it into their own voice, you've got a game changer, because suddenly you're opening up the door to people who have already deselected themselves from your content plan because they don't think they can do something. And I think that's what makes it like quite a great tool to use and actually very enriching.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the thing, it's looking at it as a game changer, not as another tool or another process. When you think about, okay, well, why would my people do it? You're giving them a voice. One of the biggest stumbling blocks that we see with advocacy is, why should I do it? So again, using AI to say, well, A, it's easy, but B, we want to profile you. We want your insights, your thoughts. Again, I think that I said earlier, I'm not sure if it's just you and I chatting or we said this here. Not just the people who shout loud enough. And I'm going to be honest, if we think about critical talent and talent of the future, there's a whole different persona of people that don't necessarily shout loud. They might be remote. You can't know them all. So how do you allow them to have a voice, and how do you leverage the power of them and their networks and get their perspective if you're not using AI to bring them into the fold?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the really interesting parts about it. I think you can do so much with it, but I think it's you also realizing what it can do for you, do for the community that you're trying to build, do for the colleagues that you're trying to engage. I think it can have loads of benefits that you might not even realize are there.
Yeah, exactly.